The day the skies went silent. It began without warning. At precisely 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, the world fell quiet, not in sound but in signal. Satellites blinked out. Internet nodes across continents collapsed in unison. Fighter jets spiraled from the sky as their systems failed mid-flight. Nuclear silos locked tight, rendered inert by forces no human technology could override. Within 10 minutes, the global defense network, carefully maintained over decades of suspicion and arms races, was dead. Above every major city, the sky shimmered with translucent light. Then came the ships, vast, silent monoliths that defied physics. No engines, no sound, no heat signatures. They hovered like omens, motionless against the wind. Panic rippled across the globe. In New York, people screamed and pointed. In Beijing, martial law was declared within minutes. In Moscow, bunkers were opened. Every major power assumed the same thing: invasion. But no attack came. Instead, every screen, every billboard, every phone lit up with the same image, a figure, not human but not monstrous either. Tall, slender, skin like woven starlight. The being's eyes were endless and ancient. Its voice spoke in perfect translation across every tongue. We are the Eliari. You stand at the edge of extinction, not by our hand, but your own. For centuries, we have observed your potential and your chaos, your capacity for creation, and your addiction to conflict. Now we intervene. The message continued, calm and absolute. You have 30 of your Earth days to cease internal warfare, to dismantle weapons of mass death, to unify, or at least coexist. If you cannot achieve peace within that time, we will end your civilization to preserve others from your contagion. There is no grand flourish, no demands, no negotiation, just a countdown. World leaders scrambled. Emergency sessions convened at the United Nations building, an institution long hollowed by bureaucracy and geopolitical rivalry. For once, its halls pulsed with urgency. President Nyla Serrano of the Pan American Alliance spoke first. We're being threatened with extinction by aliens who claim moral superiority, she said, voice taut with anger. We didn't elect them. They're not our gods. But General Mahmoud of the Unified African Coalition countered with grim clarity. Yet they've disabled our weapons without firing a shot. We have no countermeasures, only options. The arguments echoed across the planet. Was this intervention or coercion? Salvation or subjugation? Could peace be real if it was demanded at gunpoint? Or, in this case, by technology, so advanced it might as well be divine? Still, for the first time in centuries, the wars stopped. Not because they were over, but because no one could fight them. Guns jammed. Missiles failed. Communications broke. Humanity, in one terrifying instant, had been disarmed. And in that silence, a new question emerged. What if this was humanity's last chance not just to survive, but to prove it deserved to? The ultimatum of peace. The first Eliari envoys descended 3 days after the broadcast. They did not emerge from their ships with weapons, nor did they hover above Capitol buildings with shows of power. They arrived quietly, in shimmering, gravity-defying capsules that touched down in 5 cities across Earth: New York, Nairobi, Moscow, New Delhi, and Sao Paulo. Each envoy looked identical, their tall forms draped in silvery robes that shimmered like liquid metal under the sun. In every city, they spoke the same message in flawless local dialects. We are not conquerors. We are custodians of civilization. Your violence threatens not only yourselves, but the stability of other young species. We offer not judgment, but a path forward. One chance. At each location, the Eliari placed a single artifact on the ground, a crystalline tablet encoded with what they called the Peace Codex. Within it lay schematics, treaties, models of governance, and environmental solutions far beyond human comprehension. Free energy, disease eradication, ecosystem repair. But there was a condition. The Codex may only be activated once your governments unanimously agree to cease all organized internal warfare. Your tribalism, your nations, your flags, keep them. But if you continue to harm one another, you forfeit your place in the stars. The message echoed louder than any declaration of war. At the United Nations, diplomats clashed over what to do. Some, like Ambassador Yarosala of Egypt, saw the offer as salvation. "We've been given a blueprint for peace," she said. "A chance to leap forward by centuries, if we could just stop killing each other." But others, like Defense Minister Alan Grisham of the Pacific Coalition, remained skeptical. "No power gives without expectation," he warned. "They claim peace. What they want is submission. If we agree to this, we hand Earth over without a fight." While the debate raged in governments, something unexpected happened among the people. Across the globe, grassroots movements sprang to life. In war zones, soldiers laid down arms and refused orders. Civilians marched in the streets, chanting 30 days for Earth. Churches, mosques, temples, and even atheist forums hosted open dialogues about what it meant to be human in the face of galactic scrutiny. In Kenya, a 14-year-old girl named Amina live-streamed from outside the Eliari landing zone in Nairobi. "If we can't stop hurting each other now, what future are we really fighting for?" Her video reached over 4 billion views in a day. Still, resistance simmered. Rogue nations refused to acknowledge the ultimatum. Private military firms fortified bunkers. Old superpowers debated whether to stall the peace process in hopes of gaining alien tech through negotiation or force. The Eliari did nothing. They did not speak again, did not threaten, did not interfere. They simply watched. And so, with 27 days remaining, humanity stood divided, one half daring to imagine peace, and the other half still clinging to the machinery of war. The clock ticked on, and for the first time in its history, Earth faced a war it couldn't win, unless it refused to fight at all. The Unity Gambit. Day 14. The halfway mark. The world had not ended, but peace had not begun. Skirmishes broke out in disputed territories, small, desperate, and quickly extinguished by unseen forces. Drones dropped dead mid-flight. Tanks simply wouldn't start. Soldiers spoke of their rifles heating red-hot when raised. The Eliari didn't intervene directly. They just made violence impossible. Still, the fractures deepened. A coalition of nations, the United North Bloc, refused to disarm. They accused the Eliari of psychological warfare. Others, like the South American Pact and the Pan-African Union, embraced the Peace Codex and called for immediate planetary unification. Caught in the center of the maelstrom was a small, unlikely group, the Human Continuance Delegation, led by Dr. Elena Marek, a Polish sociologist and war refugee. The delegation consisted of scientists, former military officers, human rights advocates, and even a few reform politicians. They were not elected. They were not powerful. But they had one thing the world had started to lose: public trust. They met in a sealed biosphere outside Geneva, one of the few neutral zones untouched by political pressure. There, Elena stood before a digital table, the Peace Codex hovering in translucent blue light above it. "We can't force peace," she said, "but maybe we can prototype it." Her proposal was radical: a unity gambit, a global ceasefire enforced not by alien threat, but by voluntary human agreement. Deployment of Eliari peace fields, but under human supervision. Creation of a provisional Earth Council, not to rule, but to mediate and coordinate global resources. And one non-negotiable principle: any nation that refused participation would be excluded from future alien technological access, forever. The Eliari, for the first time since their arrival, responded directly. "We will not command your cooperation, but we will observe your sincerity. Enact your plan. Let us see if peace is within your reach." The proposal was sent to every major nation and broadcast live. Initial responses were muted, then angry, then suddenly receptive. It was Brazil who signed first, followed by Kenya, then Australia, then Germany. A dozen others followed. Not all agreed, but the tide was turning. In the U.S., President Serrano faced a divided Congress and a military complex unwilling to stand down. Her decision came after a moment of quiet on the White House lawn. watching her granddaughter draw pictures of the alien ships. She signed a unity gambit with trembling hands. Opposition remained. Russia refused. A Southeast Asian confederation walked away. But the world, fractured as it was, had found something terrifyingly unfamiliar: momentum. In the streets, citizens demanded action. Cities once preparing for war now planted peace flags. Generals resigned rather than order defiance. For the first time, peace had become an act of rebellion. And as Elena stood before the biosphere screen, watching the signatures tick in, she whispered to herself, "Maybe we're not broken beyond repair after all." The Eliari said nothing. But high above Earth, their ships began to move. First contact, final test. Day 30. Humanity's final day. By now, 173 nations had signed the Unity Gambit. Ceasefires had held across every major war zone for 2 consecutive weeks. Peace fields shimmered invisibly over borders, powered by alien tech, but activated only with human consent. Even rogue states had grown quiet, isolated by public revolt and international blockade. At the southernmost point on Earth, in the icy silence of Antarctica, a summit was held. Representatives from around the world gathered in the newly constructed Concord Dome, a transparent biodome built within days using Eliari matter-folding machines. This was where Earth's future would be decided. Inside, Elena Marek stood before the largest table ever built, a circular monument to equality. Beside her was President Serrano. Across from her, Amina, the Kenyan teenager whose live stream had become the voice of the peace movement, now wore the patch of Earth's Youth Observer. Elena tapped a button on her tablet. The Earth Concord is ready for ratification. If signed by 2/3 of world governments and accepted by the Eliari, we will have proven our capacity for unity. Not forced peace, chosen peace. The document wasn't perfect. It allowed national sovereignty but demanded transparent conflict mediation. It placed environmental stewardship above economic growth. It proposed shared stewardship of Eliari technology through a neutral council. And it committed Earth to a simple truth: never again war among ourselves. One by one, the signings came. Some with cheers, some with hesitation, some with tears. And just as the final signature was placed, the Eliari reappeared. Not through ships or broadcasts, but in person. A single envoy materialized within the dome, its presence both ethereal and grounding. It spoke not from a podium, but from every surface. "You have come far, but words are easy. Agreements are ink. We require one last truth." The dome darkened. The world flickered into a simulation. Suddenly, every leader was transported into a shared illusion, an Earth struck by global drought and power outages, caused by false data and sabotage. The AI whispered that another nation was hoarding resources. Panic rose. Military channels buzzed. Angry crowds surged. This was the final test. Would they react with suspicion? With weapons? With blame? They didn't. President Serrano ordered transparent data to be shared immediately. China opened its water reserves. Kenya flew cargo planes to India. Nations that once stood as rivals coordinated aid in real time, refusing to escalate. Inside the illusion, peace held. Outside, the Eliari observed in silence, then finally nodded. "You are no longer a danger to yourselves, or to others. You are no longer children." The simulation dissolved. The Concord Dome filled with light. Humanity had passed. 1 week later, the skies lit up with a departure. The Eliari ships vanished, but in their place, they left a single object: the Genesis engine, a gift of endless, clean energy. And beside it, blueprints for the stars. The first Terran diplomatic vessel launched within a year. On its hull were no flags, only one symbol: a united Earth crowned by the words, "We chose peace. Now we choose the stars."